All right, welcome back. So I want to do a new video, not a series, maybe a series, but I want to react to the best guitar collection I've ever seen written into a show. Okay, super cool, super fun. It's one thing to like watch like a rig rundown, okay, but you know what you're getting, right? And those are professional musicians. They need a lot of gear, and you're just interested in what they're using. This was the biggest and the best guitar collection I've ever seen just for a character. Okay, and so I had so many thoughts. I was like, what is this worth? How many guitars are there? Who took the time to bring all these guitars onto set? We're gonna get into that. Okay, the show is Dexter Original Sin, streaming on Paramount Plus, and I believe it's a Showtime piece. Original Dexter, I think, ran 2005 to 2013. We should maybe check that. Okay, 2006 to 2013. I was really close. I watched all 8 seasons. Then a couple years ago, they came out with New Blood, which was like I'm gonna call it the 9th season, but it's kind of like a little exponent. Michael C. Hall came back, and people, I think they had mixed reviews. I just don't know. They weren't happy with how it ended. They weren't really happy with the continuation. I liked it fine. I'm not a harsh critic. Whatever. It was more Dexter. It was great. Original Sin, it recasts Dexter and Deb, and his dad is in it, like more full time as Christian Slater, or vice versa. And it's just really interesting to kind of see Dexter as a 20-year-old rather than a 40-year-old. Speaking of which, I mean, I thrifted this shirt for like 23 bucks, and tell me this isn't straight out of Michael C. Hall Dexter's closet, right? So I threw that on. I got back there, I got my cologne collection, well, part of it. I got the polo black on. I don't know, that's just, it's like kind of spicy, kind of professional. Just seems something like Dexter would wear. So, you know, I got in character for this, right? All right, back to the guitars. That's what you came here for. In season 4, called Fender Bender, very nicely named here. But this character that Dexter is hunting down because he suspects he's like a killer is also a guitar collector. And so he's claiming to be like a retired like boat guy and like was a finance guy. That's where he made all his money. But we kind of realize that he is actually a secret hitman for various mobs, and that's where he gets all his money, and he puts his money into many a thing but guitars. And I want to see how much money. I want to know how much would you have to pay to get the collection that he has in this. So they block any screenshot or anything like this. I literally had to take a picture with my phone and send it to myself to get these. So bear with me. The quality is kind of potato, but. Over here, let's start. Rickenbacker 325 C64 Miami Jack Low is what I think that is. Maybe I'm overly specific. I think it's a nice homage to Miami. That's where the Dexter is set. And that is a $3,600 guitar. We have the Hofner H500 violin bass, which makes me think of Paul McCartney. And that is a $2,600 guitar. Another Rickenbacker, the 330, which is a $2,000 guitar. All right, so these two make me think of Tom Petty and a little bit of the Beatles. So we kind of got like a little bit of a Beatles, you know, Tom Petty was a Florida but California guy. So got a lot of fun stuff going on here. All right, the first one that I kind of struggled to get was this one. My guess is a Gibson L4 14 fret, which I valued at $3,000 to $6,000. So for the sake of argument here, we're gonna go with $3,000. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's something completely different. Things that I looked at was just like the sound hole and the trap bridge here. So that was interesting in the jet black. So again, not 100% confident on that one. Let's go to the next scene because he's kind of blocking some. The first one he's blocking is going to be a Gibson Flying V. That is case closed right there. I'm going to value that at $2,500 based on what I saw online. Right over here, again, this is kind of hard. It's like so easy that it's hard. It's a Gibson Les Paul, but it could be a standard, it could be a custom, it could be a lot of different things. It couldn't be a studio because it's got the binding. It's got two nice PAFs here. It looks like it's something like, you know, Ice-T, which is my favorite. I'm going to value that as if it is a standard and just give it $3,000 because after tax or whatnot, it just inflates it a little bit in case it is a custom. This one's hard. It's definitely a Dreadnought model. So I'm going to say it's a vintage D18. There's just a lot of wear and marks going on here. So I'm gonna call it a vintage here. Vintage Martin D18 could be $4,000 to $50,000. So I'm gonna say $6,000. I'm gonna keep it really low, really conservative here. But I also think that, you know, that's fair. All right, this is definitely a Gibson SG. We are gonna estimate that as about just $2,000. And then down here on the very end is a Gibson SJ200, which is a jumbo, and that might be one of the most expensive guitars on this wall at $5,700. And again, you know, this one could be more if it's like a, you know, VOS or a Murphy Lab, and you know, some of these, if they're played by a celebrity, sure, but again, we're going with kind of what we know. All right, moving on. So that's where the jumbo is. Right behind him, he's blocking this goofy looking guitar. It's just a square, and from what I could turn up here, that was a Gretsch G6138 Bo Diddley G-Cut. Not exactly the guitar that I would go for $2,500 spare dollars, but to each their own. It's definitely a conversation piece. It definitely sticks out. Like, look how long this thing is. Like, thing's whack. And then as long as we got a good view here, this is a Stratocaster, obviously. It looks like a two-tone. I feel like I see some wear here. So that tells me a couple things. Either, you know, it could be a custom shop and it could be a vintage. I've been kind of conservative, so I kind of want to go a little bit aggressive here. Let's call it a vintage. This guy's a collector after all. A vintage Strat, you know, could be 20 grand. So we're going to say 20 grand. Just sake of argument, just having some fun here. All right, now we're moving on to this monstrosity. I need your help. I could not find this thing. I searched like Vox guitars. No, Vox guitars didn't even come close to the weirdness of this thing. Look at the headstock up here. It's got 12 strings. It definitely, like, that headstock is as big of a monstrosity as this thing. And it's got like a knob and a half for every string it has. Like, what is this thing? I just valued it at like $1,000. I feel like sometimes things are so weird that they don't really have a market, and that's why I did that. In my notes, I said Phantom or Mark 12 is the closest thing I could find. So I did this research a couple weeks ago, so I don't even remember what those are. Over here, let's get back to a different image, is definitely a Jazzmaster. So I pinned that at about 2 grand, just figure it's American made. Right here is a Gretsch White Falcon, one of the most famous, prettiest guitars. And I valued that at $4,000. We'll come back to those. Over here, he's actually playing this in a different scene. This is a classical guitar. And again, kind of that same thing. It's got a lot of aging and wear on it. So I said vintage classical guitar, maybe it's a Martin or a Paul Fisher was another common brand. And I'm gonna value it at $9,000. So let's see here. Let's go back over. There's 2 guitars here that I just really couldn't tell. This is, I think, lighting more than it's the guitar's paint. Same thing, and I just can't quite tell. This might be a Taylor. This might be like an Ibanez or Taylor or Gibson. I feel like maybe that's a PAF, and maybe this is a 335. If it was a 335, that'd be about $3,500, and I just don't even know what that is. I can't see much. It kind of makes me, it's kind of got the same inlays as a Gibson, so I almost want to say it's like a Gibson, you know, cutaway acoustic. I almost want to say it's like a Taylor. I don't have enough view. This couch is in the way to really give you an opinion. Over here, I have a Fender California Vintage King, which is an $800 guitar. The headstock was kind of the giveaway. Look at that shadow. It's really nice for us to help with that. Moving on, we're going to need a different picture. Here is, it's got a trapeze style bridge, and it's definitely a 12 string. It's got Gibson right there. So I figured that was a Gibson B45 12 string with trapeze, which is a $1,500 guitar that I kind of gathered. This one I also struggled with. I believe it is a Guild OM240CE.
You sure about that?
Which is a $500 guitar according to my notes.
You sure about that?
This little peanut-shaped parlor guitar is going to be a Gibson L00 Sunburst model, which is a $3,000 guitar according to my notes. Research I did. Up here, this is a 3-tone. This might still be a 2-tone here. Another Stratocaster. This one's got no wear, so I'm just going to call this an American Standard. And if I really wanted to, it kind of looks, this paint, tell me this paint doesn't kind of look like nitro paint versus this more looks like poly paint. Maybe I'm making stuff up. But if it was, that would probably put it in the custom shop realm. But I'm going to play a little conservative here and just say that that's an American Standard, and we're going to call it $1,800 here. Over here, there's a scene, or just kind of like based on the sharpness of it, it kind of looked like it had some binding on it, but I don't know for sure, so I'm going to just call it, you know, a Telecaster. I said the Ultra Luxe for $1,800, basically American Standard.
Price went up.
It's hard to tell right now, but when you go to the next scene over here, this is definitely a Gibson Hummingbird, $4,000, and the Fender Stratocaster SRV Tribute. People make these at a lot of different price points. People just like make their own, but I do believe Fender's made some custom versions and some really high-end versions out of the custom shop. So I'm going to consider it one of the custom shop things. This guy doesn't seem like he's one to skimp out or just, you know, buy the cheapest version. So we're going to say that's $5,500. There's one other guitar that is not in this scene that actually comes up later. So a couple funny things is he's going through and he's scouting the place. He's looking for evidence and dirt on this guy, and eventually he finds it. He actually hits him over the head. So he goes, Hateful Eight moment on him.
Music time's over.
And right here this is kind of funny. The Rickenbacker is definitely next to White Falcon. If you don't believe me, it zooms out. That's 100%. So he is playing this guitar on the boat, that vintage classical guitar. So that's the one, fittingly, that he hits him with. But a lot of these guitars move places, which part of me is like, yeah, if you play them, but I always keep mine in the same spot. Not that you have to. The other part of me is like, maybe there's a little bit of continuity error. And so, here he is, knocked out. Dexter's, setting up for him, and you can kind of see. But this guitar is a EVH, an Eddie Van Halen, and that was not there in the collection before. In this scene, he's like, no, not the Clapton. Like, he literally says that, and it does kind of look all black here, versus this was the one that was the two-tone. Either way. But right here, in actually the early episode of number 5, after it, the police come in and they investigate, this guy, and they're like, oh, that's the Eddie Van Halen model. That's sick. So that was not in the original calculations. But if I add $2,000 for that, based on my notes and everything that I went through, I would expect it to be $96,550. There's a couple things there. Number one, I did give the vintage Strat $20,000. So if you don't think it's a vintage Strat and you just want to call it custom shop, take off $15,000. Okay, so that would be closer to $81,000. And if you believe that other one had nitro paint, therefore was also a custom shop, let's add another $3,000. So instead of $1,800, it'd be say $5,000. So then that would put it around $85,000. So my guesstimate here, based on all these, and we're gonna say the EVH is another guitar. So there's 26 guitars in this guy's collection. That this 26 guitar collection is between $81,000 and $96,000, which is incredible. So this show has been a ton of fun. This was an amazing Easter egg. They did say in the behind the scenes, I think they call it the postmortem. That's like what their behind the scenes show is called. And they were talking about it, and the actor who played, I forget even the character's name right now, but the hitman, I would assume, well, they were his guitars, but I would assume that they went to his house, like where all this stuff is like already set up, and they just filmed there. It'd probably be so much easier than having him, ship 26 guitars and all these fish and stuff into the scene. So very, very fun, great filming credit where you just basically get to have your man cave displayed for an episode. It's super fun. So some interesting things, not for sure, but pretty certain that there's no Taylors in here. There's these two really WTF guitars that I don't know what the appeal of those is, but to each their own, and that's what makes it a collection. 26 guitars is incredibly impressive. I have 10, and this is a lot. Like I hesitate to say too much, but this is a lot. So my final thought here is let's make a new tier list. Everybody knows S, A, B, C, D, E, D, F. Sorry, but I want to categorize them first. All right, first category is hipster. Hipster is somebody that owns a guitar because they're trying to be cool. They're trying to be cool by being it was like 2010, 2005 cool. Like the divorced dad got the acoustic guitar sitting in the corner. This ain't that. Next is the hobbyist. Hobbyist owns like 3 guitars. They're more beginner. They can play. They're out, but they're kind of collecting dust, and they're probably out of tune when you go pick it up. Then you got different tiers of like the hobbyist. So like an S tier hobbyist would be like somebody's got like 5 guitars and actually take good care of them. Then you got 2 that I'm gonna say are on par with each other, but for different reasons. You got the professional musician and you got the collector. This definitely goes in the collector. Professional musician. Who's the guy for Cheap Trick? He had like 2,000 guitars. Again, that's like a collector and a professional musician, but I'm sure he got some of those like for free and stuff like that from contracts. So this is definitely going in collector. I'm gonna have to give this probably an A tier in collector, because there's definitely some people that go even beyond that. Something like Music is Win, like he has like 50, 55, and again, that's kind of spreading. It's like what's the difference between like collector and professional? He's kind of blurring the lines there. But A tier. I would give my 10 guitar, collection, I'd probably give it like a B tier of collector, maybe C tier, and I'd probably give it like an S tier of hobbyist. So that is kind of my take, and something I think is a lot of fun is just like, I don't know, that guitar collection blew me away as a viewer, just the attention to detail. And like I said, this show has been so much fun. I just saw episode 7 a couple of days ago. Episode 8 should come out tomorrow. Historically, Dexter's have had 12 episodes. And there's a little bit of a gap between 6 and 7 week-wise. It was like 2 weeks, so I have a feeling that that was like a mid-season finale. And they're even teasing another Dexter show season coming out this summer, so we will see. We've got a lot of Dexter content here. Are there other guitar collections that are like in movies and stuff? Like I know like Spinal Tap is all about guitars and stuff, like School of Rock and whatnot, but have we ever seen a guitar collection this like tied to a character? Let me know. I'd do some digging on it, and let me know what I got wrong. Let me know why my prices are too high or too low. Let me know what those two crazy guitars were and why they're so special. Tell me why my math is wrong. Anytime you comment, I actually really enjoy it, even if you're saying mean things, because then YouTube says my video is relevant and it shows it to more people. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I got a couple other stories. I got to get back to my guitars. I make a series called The Story Behind, so I tell you about like what I paid for it, why I bought it, when I bought it, all that stuff. I owe you some videos there. It's been a while. Next series I got is Backstory in the Song. I love to write my own music, and so I got one song up right now. It's got like 25 views, so go give it view number 26 if you want to hear what I write. More of those to come. I have them filmed. I just have to post them. I'm sorry. It's hard to overcome my self-doubt sometimes, but it really is just about having a place to show and just be like, hey, like I wrote this song, like I want to show it somewhere. If it's not gonna be on the radio, that's fine. Like I want to share it beyond just me a little bit. But yeah, other stuff, check out some of my other stuff. I YouTube from time to time, so don't subscribe if you're like, this dude needs to post every day. I won't. I'm sorry. I just don't have the time. I'm doing everything on my own, but I have a lot of fun once I do make videos. So if that sounds interesting to you, subscribe. You'll see some more of my pet rabbits and some more of me and some more of my guitars if that's interesting. I also play a lot of tennis, so some tennis content hopefully coming up your way soon. So peace. Hope you enjoyed the video. Drop a like, subscribe if you did. Thanks.